Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strikers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strikers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. This is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's own Empire Strikers. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, JR Liebert, affectionately known as The Scarf. Thanks so much for joining me on another absolutely jam-packed episode. Don't forget, subscribe to the podcast on all your podcasting platforms. And please make sure you subscribe to Soccer in 60 over on YouTube. That is a big thing for us. So head on over there and like and subscribe. Joining me on today's show to kick us off is my partner in the podcasting universe from the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast, Ananda Karana. Ananda, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Hey, Scarf, good to be back, man. It's the dynamic duo today, so let's roll.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. Also happy to have JP Dellacamera on as our interview guest. Gunnar Burnt and I were able to sit down with the U.S. soccer icon, and we have actually chosen to start the show with a fantastic interview with JP Dellacamera. But before we do that, let's check in with our friends over at Omnitrans in partnership with the Empire Strikers. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strikers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strikers game. No word on if JP Dellacamera will be at that game or not, but now it's time for our interview with U.S. soccer legend and MASL president of media and communications, JP Dellacamera. Here he is.
All right. Our guest is a giant of American soccer broadcasting, having worked for ESPN, ABC, NBC, Fox, and CBS Sports, calling everything from MLS and the NWSL to 17 men's and women's World Cups, UEFA Champions League. The list goes on and on. He knows pro soccer in this part of the world like few others do, and that includes the indoor game. In fact, he is the president of communications and media with the Major Arena Soccer League. It's such a joy to welcome back to the show, Mr. JP Dellacamera. JP, thank you so much for joining us today.
Gunnar and JR, thanks for having me on. The indoor soccer is really where I cut my teeth back in the good old days. So I still love the game as much as I loved it back in the 80s.
Amazing. And I just found out that you started, and you'll have to tell me about this off the air at some point, but I think you started in ticket sales, if I have that right.
I did everything. Yeah. I mean, when you start out, I don't know how it is today, like when you come out of college. I know some people struggle to find, working opportunities, but, in those days, you started off at either a low minor league sports team or a very small radio station and had to work your way up. So right. I had multiple duties when I first started, multiple.
Amazing. Again, we'll have to go in depth on that off the air at some point. Let's start today by talking a little bit about the team that we cover here, our very own Empire Strikers. The Strikers, and we'll talk about the broadcast situation, the MASL in general a little bit, but let's look at the Strikers, who have retained most of their key players from last season, including All-Stars Marco Fabian, Justin Stinson, defensive anchor Robert Palmer, who also, by the way, finished second in the MASL in assists. The only significant departures are defender Emmanuel Aguirre and midfielder Quentin Swift. Of course, they also bring back MASL Coach of the Year Onua Obasi, and they've added a few MASL veterans in Steven Chavez, Ant Powell, Lucas Romalo. How would you rate Empire ahead of the new season? Do you think they could take another step forward this year?
I think they will take another step forward. Remember, they finished in the playoffs last year. We had 12 teams last year, 8 this year, but they finished in 7th place. And if results had gone their way, they weren't that far away from finishing higher up. I think under Obasi, they're a different team. They're a more fun team to watch with their possession, their creativity, their speed. And he always seems to bring in a new wrinkle. Like everybody talked about the goalkeeper changes, but he made it work. And I think last year with Fabian, with Stinson had a career year. Palmer's always good. But to me, your goalkeeping was the story. And not only was Orozco so good, I thought, as a goalkeeper, but he was as good as some of the field players in our league and had I'm trying to think, right-footed, right?
Yes, sir.
More famous for his right foot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in the old days, this is a supreme compliment to Orozco. Kim Rundved used to play in Wichita, and Rundved had like the hardest shot on a right foot that I'd seen in the old MISL. And Orozco last year on a couple of his goals, I thought he was going to rip a hole in the net. Like very strong. When he had the ball, the only fear, obviously from an Empire standpoint, is if he's dispossessed, right? Because that net is empty at the other end. But he was very confident. And it seems like whether you're a goalkeeper or a field player, everybody on Empire has to be comfortable on the ball so that Obasi feels comfortable with them. But I think Empire could be really strong this year. A tough way to open, right? Against San Diego and on the road. But I think this year, because we're down to 8 teams, this is the first time in a long time where I think it's going to be hard to pick a winner at the start and also to pick the 2 teams that won't make it to the playoffs. Whereas in years past, when we had 12 teams, Chihuahua was pretty much everybody's preseason pick to win it. And you could say pretty safely the teams that were not going to make the playoffs. This year, I think all 8 have a legitimate shot at it.
Yeah, and you mentioned, by the way, Coach Onua Obasi and all the wrinkles that he has. With Coach Obasi being known for his exciting, innovative tactics, how do you feel about Friday's game between the Sockers and the Strikers? How it could shake out tactically? Do you think we'll see a lot of Brian Orozco and maybe some goalkeeper shots? And what do you think the keys to success for both sides will be in this first matchup?
Wow. I think, first of all, San Diego probably on paper has to be the favorite, right? Because they were only a couple of points behind Chihuahua last year. And they added 2 amazing players. Chris Toth, goalkeeper of the year, and then Nick Pereira. So it's not like they needed help. But I think on paper, you would have to give them an edge, in a preseason polling, right? And they're playing at home. They didn't lose last year at home. So, and it was not because of a small field like, Chihuahua had. It was just, their team was so good at home, that home field advantage was great for them. So I think Obasi's a guy that really studies the game. And this probably will be more so than last year. I think this is more of his team. I think he, when he came in, he got hired later. And I think now he's at a full year to see how this league is. And he knows the teams will adjust to him and his team. And he will have to do the same. I wouldn't put too much stock in game 1. If San Diego wins by a big score or if Empire wins by a big score, you're still going to have 23 more games left to go. And this rivalry is intense, right? Always a great game when those 2 play, whether it's game 1, middle of the year, or whether it's close to the postseason. Those 2 teams want to win more so probably against each other than any other team.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of San Diego this season as well. We'll be seeing a lot of them also because the MASL just recently announced a brand new broadcasting partnership with Fox Sports Mexico, as well as CBS Sports Golazo Network returning as a partner. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about those 2 deals and how significant and why they are significant for the MASL?
Well, they're significant in Mexico for 2 reasons. One is that it's Fox, right? Anything with Fox on it is great for us. That name, that image, that company. They're going to be exclusive on the games that they do, and they're going to give us maximum exposure. They are already working with us with Empire, especially with Marco, in terms of promoting the coverage that they're going to have. And they're talking about getting big numbers attendance-wise because of the marketing dollars, the promotion that they're going to put into it. And we're doing the same, in collaboration with them. So that's on that side. On the Golazo side, I would say this to you, that out of all the things that I've done personally in this league, that's probably the most significant thing that I personally have done. As a team, I think we've all done things individually, whether it's Keith Tozer, Shep Messing, myself, John Raymond. We've all done individual things, and we've all done things collectively. This one is, for me personally, you ask Keith, you ask Shep, you ask John, they might say something different for them. But for me personally, this was the biggest because it gave us credibility. It gave us so much credibility to be a part of CBS. And so much so that when we first started it, it was Empire in Kansas City doing a couple of games. They were impressed with the production. They were impressed with the game, the sport. They liked us as a partner, and it's grown ever since. So it's helped us get sponsors. It's helped us get other networks. So I personally couldn't be more pleased by that arrangement. But as we speak, we're in talks daily with different companies because Golazo is only exclusive to the 18 games that they were able to do. They did more last year, but this year they've added Liga MX, and Liga MX did not have their schedule out at the time where we had to make decisions. So they could add more games to it, but for now it's listed at 18.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the broadcast side of things, and let's just do a quick one because we've seen a lot of questions in the supporters forums online. Where else can people watch games if it's not on Golazo or on Fox Sports Mexico?
Wow. I should have a list in front of me, but I don't. National Soccer Network, which was a partner of ours last year, is doing games. Unbeaten Network, Sport World. Some of these are in other parts of the world, not so much or not as much in the U.S. Victory Plus is going to be another one for us. Silver, which is out west, is going to be another one for us. There are about 15 right now, partners. Our goal is to just get eyeballs on this. I think the more eyeballs you get gives us more data. The data goes to potential sponsors, to potential networks once they see what numbers. I also forgot to mention Twitch is part of what we do. That's a different type of an audience for us. It's a younger, more game audience, I guess, for us. And we have our own YouTube channel as well. And more on a weekly basis, I would say we'll probably be adding more to it as much as we can handle. And the difference this year, too, is that we've come up with some new encoders that we think will enhance the broadcast. Everyone will have the same equipment. And as a distributor, we're using Gravio, which supposedly has the capability to go to 40 different places at the same time. We don't want to test that. 40 is a big number, but I would take 15 to 20 and think that, we can get that kind of exposure on it. So those are the things that we're doing a little bit differently, and I hope a little bit better this year.
Mm-hmm. Time's flying by. Unfortunately, I could talk to you all day. Let's get back to the play on the field just for a second. And I know Scarf then has one important question for you to close us out. But just looking ahead, aside from 8 teams obviously battling for a trophy and having a lot of teams probably having a decent shot at it, what's your expert take on why fans around the world should be tuning in this season? Who are some of your players to watch, maybe some of your storylines to watch around the MASL this season?
Well, one of the storylines, I think, is that even though we've gone from 12 teams down to 8, we're a better, stronger league with the 8 that we have, because I think that with the 8 that we have right now, they're all committed to higher standards, both on and off the field, and that's what we want. It's only a temporary setback because I think that next year, I'm doing this off the top of my head, I think next year we could be as high as 12 teams again, because we're talking with groups on a daily basis. That's the only information that I can share with you right now, but I can assure you that the 8 is just temporary. The 4 teams that left are are gone for 4 different reasons. I don't have to get into the reasons how and why, but they're gone. I think biggest storyline is going to be really who's going to win it, because for the last 3 years, it was Chihuahua, right? And so we will now have a new champion for the first time in 4 years. And I think that has everybody psyched, to go after it. I think that some of the changes, I'm thinking about Kansas City added Dom Francis, San Diego added the 2 players that we talked about. Milwaukee has a new coach in Marcio Leite, who's a former very good player in this league. Ambush have SK back. I mean, those are some of the players to watch. I think our great players will continue to shine, like your Zach Regets of the world. Those are the storylines for me. I think every game becomes more important than before. It's the same number of games that we're playing, but 6 playoff spots, 2 of them are not going to make it. Like I said before, if I look at this list, I'm looking at it now, I don't know who the 2 are that won't make it. Whereas last year, without discrediting anyone, I knew who was not going to make the playoffs last year. I think this year it's wide open. Top 4, in fact, I think is wide open, and everybody's going to be gunning for number 1. And no longer are you gunning for Chihuahua with the knowledge of, I have to play a final down there. How am I going to win it? It's wide open. And even with San Diego's perfect record last year at home, I don't think anyone could say they can't win there. Whereas in Chihuahua, I think some of our teams felt beaten before they even got on the field.
Well, we'll see what our 2 big stars, Marco Fabian and Justin Stinson, have to say about that too here in Strikers country. But one last question for you, JP. With Don Garber's role potentially coming to an end in 2026, I got kind of a 2-parter for you. Are you throwing your hat in the ring for MLS Commissioner, or who would you like to see replacing Don Garber after 2026?
No, that's funny, actually, because I don't want to be a commissioner. We have a commissioner, in Keith Tozer.
Yeah.
But the 3 of us, as you probably know, JR, all applied for the commissioner's job as one, and we kind of divided the roles. But speaking of Don Garber, I mean, I think he has done an amazing job when you think of where this league was when he first took it over and how many teams there were. And one of the things that he did, with the owners, obviously, was to contract. They took out the team in Fort Lauderdale and Tampa, and it was temporary. It's a temporary setback. Those 2 were holding the league back. And then so many other things happened, whether it was Beckham coming in or, new soccer-specific stadiums. And then Thierry Henry comes in and Robbie Keane comes in. And, the list goes on. And now you're at 30 teams. So Garber's legacy is secure. He has done an amazing job. I think if I were the owners, I would ask Don who he thinks should succeed him. I would start there, but there'll be no shortage of candidates who will want that job. It's a very high-paying job, and I think it's a very rewarding job. And with what they're going to do now, switching to the European calendar, which is a risk, and then eventually getting out of the Apple deal, which is going to end earlier than it was supposed to. I mean, these are big moments for Major League Soccer. And as well as Don Garber did during his time there, whenever he steps down, and I don't know when that is, but whenever he does step down, they're going to need someone as equally effective as he was during his run.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, I'll just say, sorry, Scarf.
No, it's okay.
we're battling each other for the chance to say bye to JP. I'll just say that if you not becoming MLS commissioner means that you'll hop on here once in a while, we'll take that every day of the week. It's always such a joy to have you on. The insight is amazing. Such a legend of American soccer broadcasting. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it, JP.
Thanks for having me on.
An absolutely fantastic interview with JP, and he said I could call him that, so I will. Thanks to our producer, Gunnar Burnt, for joining me on that. Again, talking all things, not just indoor soccer, but a little bit of MLS Commissioner news going on there. Speaking of which, LAFC talk coming up soon, as well as Kevin Baxter to discuss his article on Angel City. But first, let's get to the Galaxy and Ananda. The 2026 schedule was announced, and all kinds of special events and important dates. While it's not an event, the imminent return of Ricky Pooch was the first thing that figured prominently in their announcements. Obviously, that is something that every Galaxy supporter and fan is looking forward to start the 2026 season. But two big dates in April I want to ask you about. First is celebrating Landon Donovan on April 4th. Ananda, there is no argument whatsoever when it comes to the GOAT in MLS. It is Landon Donovan, and then everybody else, obviously, with a statue already outside of Dignity Health Sports Park. But they'll be celebrating him in accordance with is it a show coming out, I believe, on Apple TV, right?
Yeah, and then also celebrating his book as well. As all season ticket members will get invited to a launch event with his book. Again, celebrating one of the greatest ever to do it in MLS and LA Galaxy folklore, of course.
Yeah, and Landon Donovan, obviously the class of Major League Soccer, over 100 goals, over 100 assists, the only player with that in history. And they're going to be adding a third statue outside of Dignity Health Sports Park, in addition to Landon Donovan and, of course, David Beckham. It is going to be Kobe Jones on April 26th. I want to get your thoughts, Ananda, on Kobe Jones being the third member to receive a statue at Dignity Health Sports Park.
Yeah, not surprising in that if you polled a lot of LA Galaxy fans and people around the staff and the team, Kobe Jones is one of the first names whenever they ask, who should be the next one. A lot of shouts for Joe Totino as well, which is a good one, by the way. You think about the Mount Rushmore. That's a really hard question. We ask that a lot on our podcast. Mount Rushmore of LA Galaxy, very, very difficult. You got to include Joe Totino, maybe Cosmo in there. Who knows? But no, Kobe Jones, 100% deserving. Rob and I talked about this on our podcast, and Kobe Jones was one of those. He was before the Galacticos era. He was a star that the Galaxy created, and honestly, we helped him into that stardom, and that was the start of just a slew of stars that would come through the LA Galaxy team. And also one of the biggest stars of color. Like Kobe Jones was a fashion icon, Scarf, way back in the day with his dreads. I mean, he had so much just style, right? Like you could gravitate to him as an icon. And I guess like using that word icon is so apropos to Kobe Jones.
And his performance on the U.S. men's national team as well, propelling him to that superstar, that icon status for sure. I know there were also some talks about maybe Mauricio Cienfuegos being one that might deserve. I love Joe Totino. That's a great one. Let me ask you, if you had to pick number 4, the fourth statue after Kobe Jones, who would it be for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for player, CN's definitely up there, 100% a part of the Galaxy folklore, especially within that community, right? We have a huge community there. But I'm telling you, man, my shout's for Joe Totino. Joe Totino is an absolute legend. He is the fabric of this team. I mean, you think about all the legendary sports broadcasters in LA, Scarf, Chick Hearn, Ralph Lawler, Bob Miller. I mean, Joe Totino's up there, Scarf. He has to be.
Yeah, Vin Scully, by the way. We can't
Correct. I mean, there's so many. Yeah.
And honestly, what kind of happened to him during the Apple TV transition, he was one of the ones kind of left out initially with all of that. I know, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they eventually brought him into the fold and had him doing a little bit more. But one of the real casualties of that Apple TV deal was the voice of Joe Totino. Look, they also talked about hosting all kinds of great World Cup events during that 6-week break. We're all obviously looking forward to the World Cup coming not only to North America, but to Los Angeles in particular. They also, of course, come back with their Star Wars night, their Harry Potter night. Which one of those nights that they do time and time again are one of your favorites? And then Ananda, if you could, which night would you add if you could add a themed night on the Galaxy calendar?
Oh, that's a good question. You might have stumped me on that second one, but at least for one of my favorite ones is for sure Star Wars. They always do a really cool bobblehead. You see some fans kind of dress up, and I'm a huge Star Wars geek. Harry Potter was actually a really good addition and something I thought about last year. And I even asked Rob, are they going to allow me to go full on gown and robe, full on Gryffindor in the press box? I don't know if that's allowed, but I'm going to ask about it because that would be awesome. Man, like, cause see, that's the thing. Like, I love Marvel, so Marvel's in there. You stumped me on that one, Scarf. Like,
I like it.
That's
You
a
know
really
what?
good question, man. First on the show.
Next time you're back on, you'll have to come at us with what your theme night would be. We also, again, have Kevin Baxter and Angel City talk coming up in just a minute, as well, obviously, as LAFC talk, because I don't know, there's a game I guess we have to talk about on that one. But first, let's check in with our friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strikers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. Again, Kevin Baxter coming up in just a little bit. But Ananda, let's talk about the match up in Vancouver. The end of the Steve Cherundolo era coming, I will say, at least a game or two earlier than LAFC fans had thought it might, with potentially, probably, the worst first half of the season in maybe the worst absolute time that you could have had that first half. And with all due respect to Steve Cherundolo, he knew he got the lineup wrong based on what happened after halftime, subbing on Andy Morin and David Martinez. Andy Morin providing instant life, looked incredible out there. And then Sonny is going to be who he is. Son Heung-min with 2 incredible goals, should have maybe been 3. I don't know. But Ananda, let me ask you first, going down to nothing, the lack of anything offensive going forward, is it even possible that Steve Cherundolo waited too long to make those subs, waiting until halftime?
Yeah, it's possible, because you come out of that half, Scarf, 0 XG, 0 shots, absolutely nothing, right? And just getting absolutely demolished by Vancouver's 66% possession as well. So they had nothing, and you could argue that 100%, but I mean, at least he didn't wait till the 60th or 70th when those attackers, usually, you want to get your attackers at least more than 15 to 20 minutes to get the rhythm of the game, especially on the carpet, right? Which I know is a topic of conversation post-match as well. But look, he made the changes, and just be glad that you guys have Sonny, because that guy is an absolute machine, an absolute monster. What a piece of quality, really, on both goals, but really the second one, man, what a peach of a goal.
Well, and you go back to the first goal, which obviously I think of our broadcaster, Max Bretos, talking about how many bites at the cherry it takes to put one in the back of the net. A third shot in that strange sequence, a great save by Takaoka. And then you have, I forget which player it was, heading it out from his chest. I mean, it was just an incredible series of events. Sonny pushing that one in, and then the free kick. I called it, in my opinion, I believe it's the 4th most important goal in LAFC history, even though we go on to lose that match. It's an incredible bending free kick goal that everybody knew what he was going to try and do, but Takaoka just helpless to get that absolute top shelf corner. An incredible goal by Sonny. And then everything seems to break LAFC's way that entire second half, but especially Tristan Blackman getting his 2nd yellow card on what was an easy call for both yellows, and maybe a frustrating decision for Vancouver Whitecaps fans, wondering why Jesper Sorensen leaves what looked to be a relatively compromised Tristan Blackman out there while he was on that yellow card. So they go down to 10. They look awful in the first 15 minutes of added extra time, and then get more help 7 minutes into the second 15 minutes as a second player, Harumi, a defensive substitute that they brought on, goes down injured. There's no substitution window. So you're playing 11v9, and not once, not twice, but 3 times in the same sequence. LAFC hits woodwork rather than putting one away. David Martinez with another questionable decision instead of laying one off. And the soccer god said, all right, we gave you enough time. Now we're going to shift the pendulum once again. And Ananda, anything and everything can happen in penalties. And we saw that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, the big surprise was really two guys that you would expect to step onto the line and bury those penalties. Those were the guys that actually missed the penalties. And that was the big surprise. And really, you start off with Son. And once you miss the first penalty, you know, not only the momentum of missing the first penalty, but you just talked about it, the 30 minutes of extra time before that. I mean, LAFC had multiple opportunities, 2 men up, a glorious opportunity to advance in, you know, to the conference finals. And you're right. Like, once those things happen, the soccer gods are probably telling you that, hey, this is just not your night. And I think that momentum, that energy, I think it's a real thing in soccer that most people don't talk about. It flowed through to the PKs, and PKs is an absolute roulette. It's a crapshoot.
Well, and look, Hugo Lloris doesn't want to see PKs. I mean, he saw PKs in 2022 in the World Cup. I mean, that did not go well for him. We got the save we needed. It was a terrible take by Eddie Ocampo, who I mean, that fourth PK was awful for Vancouver when that could have clinched it for them. So we got the save we needed. You know, I didn't know that Hugo Lloris's metrics were as bad as they were towards the end of the season. He was a bottom 10 keeper, according to Matthew Doyle in an article that was just published. But we got the save we needed. We just couldn't get two because, you know, some people on Galaxy Twitter, and you probably saw this, Ananda, calling him a double agent Delgado, Marquis Delgado, missing that. But no, if you look at it, I mean, it looks like his foot slips a little bit. He airmails the PK. And obviously, look, Mark Delgado got us through a stretch of about 20 games this season where we looked rudderless, and he played the role of rudder. He was incredible, really did great things for us this season. But I guess that's it for the Steve Cherundolo era. I mean, it ended rather quickly and unceremoniously. As a you a co-host of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast, obviously you coming at it from the other side of the fence, but looking at Steve Cherundolo's tenure, just your thoughts on the 4 years that was the Steve Cherundolo era.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of ups and downs. Maybe I would say from an outsider looking in, for the levels that you guys have set for LAFC as an organization, maybe below that line or below that level that is expected. And I think if you poll a lot of, I mean, you probably tell me better, Scarf, but if you poll a lot of the LAFC fans and people that really follow the team day in, day out, I think his time was up anyways. And I think people are just ready to move on. So I don't know. I don't know how to put a grade on it. I think that's a great question for you, someone that covers, you know, the team day in, day out. But as a outsider looking in, I think LAFC is ready for another manager to step in and take them to the next level.
Yeah, you look at what he did in 22 and 23, winning the cup, then going right back to the final yet again, looking good doing so. You know, you really like those first 2 years. And then the last 2 years, a lot of disappointment. Certainly the U.S. Open Cup trophy, not going to do it over the course of a couple of years, especially as aspirational as LAFC is. Just real quick, they announced their end of season moves, and a couple of big names will not be back potentially. Andy Morin, who figured prominently in that second half comeback, his loan is up. So is Frankie Amaya's. They're in talks to secure Hugo Lloris and Matthew Chonier and Ryan Raposo, but Alexander Balutza, he's gone. Jailson's gone. And, oh, by the way, David Ochoa, who never wound up doing anything for LAFC, he'll be gone as well. With that, unfortunately, we also are going to say goodbye to Ananda. Ananda, thank you so much for joining us again, my friend, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise. See you, boys.
And we're not just going to say goodbye to Ananda. In our next segment, right after we talk Empire Strikers, we are going to bring on Los Angeles Times writer Kevin Baxter to talk about his article all about Angels City. But before we do, let's check in on the Inland Empire's very own MASL club, of course, this being the Empire Strikers. And just a reminder to everybody out there, season tickets and tickets for the 11/28 home opener can be purchased at theempirestrikers.com, and that's strikers with a Y. Come see the highest level of indoor soccer in the world, the Major Arena Soccer League, as the Empire Strikers look to get their season going. It starts in less than a week down at Front Wave Arena in beautiful Oceanside, California, taking on the San Diego Sockers. But before we look forward, let's look back at the last several matches in Empire Strikers playoff bound 2024-25 season. And we don't want to forget, by the way, our standout, Marco Fabian. We talked about some matches last week where he was a standout performer. Well, he was given the MASL's Offensive Player of the Week award for week 13 for his 4 points against Dallas, the 2 goals and 2 assists. But now we get to talk about it. And this is me being selfish. I'm your host, J.R. Liebert, the Scarf. But I was also in the color commentator, the analyst chair for our match, Empire Strikers at Toyota Arena, March 2nd, 2025, in what I got to dub Bagel Watch, the absolute favorite call that I was a part of in 2024-2025 as the Empire Strikers hit their 10th win of the season. But more importantly, we saw a unicorn. We had a glimpse of Loch Ness we had a glimpse of Nessie in Loch Ness. We finally found Sasquatch. We saw the Yeti. It was an 8-0 victory for the Empire Strikers. We're talking about a shutout. That's right, a clean sheet in the MASL, in indoor soccer. It is as rare as anything. And oh, by the way, both goalkeepers, not just content with keeping a clean sheet during their time, but both Brian Orozco and Brandon Gomez picking up an assist in the match. And Justin Stinson, all he did was net a hat trick alongside Marco Fabian's 2 goals and an assist. And I feel like it's the old Pee Wee's Playhouse theme where they used to have the word of the day. Well, this is Justin Stinson hat trick is our word of the day, because this next segment is littered with Stinson hat tricks. Unfortunately for the Empire Strikers, from there, it was a tough stretch to end the season, and improbably tough stretch to end with 3 of our 4 final matches during the season against a very good San Diego soccer squad. The first of which, I'm setting up all the kids out there, all the teenage listeners, all the ones that are in lower school. Wait for it, kids. It was a 6-7 loss to San Diego in San Diego on my mother's birthday of all days, March 5th. A tough loss there at San Diego. And it's always tough to play at San Diego, especially when the Sockers go undefeated for the season at home. They defend their home turf as well as any club in MASL, which is why it'll be really interesting to see what happens as the Empire Strikers open their season down at Front Wave Arena in Oceanside. We'll see what happens in that first match at San Diego. We couldn't crack the code last year. And again, March 5th, losing 6-7 at San Diego. But just 2 days later, the same scoreline, except the Empire Strikers are on the right side of a 6-7 game. A win in Tacoma. So they travel to San Diego, then travel to Tacoma. And it was Berto Palmer, Robert Palmer, with a goal and an assist. A massive, massive performance from Brandon Gomez, a number of huge saves and interventions en route to an 800 save percentage on the night. And the best part is, here we are, March 7th. March 7th. We are knocking on the door of the playoffs, needing just one win or a bunch of different results. On March 7th, we are there. We are on the precipice. And the soccer gods said, just you wait. And wait, Empire Strikers definitely would have to. Again, a fantastic performance by Robert Palmer, one of the premier defenders in the league, getting offensive with a goal and an assist. We would have a 2-week break until we headed back down to San Diego. And I buried the lead earlier when I said they were undefeated at home. So we were not about to go down to San Diego and win this one. But it was a late letdown, a 10-7 loss at San Diego, but one where Empire was in it the entire way. It was a fantastically competitive game. And Justin Stinson, we talked about our Pee Wee's Playhouse word of the day, a hat trick for Justin Stinson yet again. He was on a goal-scoring tear to end the season. chasing that golden boot, something that has eluded him, but he wanted it at the end of that 24-25 season. And then a real milestone evening, even though it ended in an overtime loss. One of the true premier events in Major League Soccer last season across the entire league happened March 23rd, 2025, as the Empire Strikers set attendance records both for their franchise and for MASL in 2024-25. And again, I want to make sure I said Major Arena Soccer League. Goodness gracious, can't mix up the two. An electrifying comeback. The Empire Strikers fell 9-8 on what was Izzy Cisse's farewell match. We've had Izzy on this podcast, on this show before. He was an absolute icon and legend in MASL history, coming over from the LA Galaxy to play a decade plus for both the Ontario Fury and the Empire Strikers. It was Izzy Cisse farewell night, as he had already announced his retirement at the end of that match. And no fewer than 7,387 were on hand at Toyota Arena, a new club record, whether you call them the Ontario Fury or you know them as the Empire Strikers. No crowd has ever been bigger in club history, and it was the largest crowd in the MASL in 2024-25. Izzy Cisse going down hurt, has to be carried off the pitch, and then Abdul Mansoure absolutely putting the club on his back with a hat trick in a single quarter. Munir Alami with 3 assists, and break out your word of the day, a Justin Stinson hat trick again. So there they are on the precipice of clinching. Every other result in the MASL went against the Empire Strikers. So coming down to their final match on the road in Dallas, all I will say is thank goodness it was Dallas. Oh, by the way, Justin Stinson earning Offensive Player of the Week for his 2 hat tricks, one in the loss at San Diego, and then one on Izzy Cisse's day at Toyota Arena. He went on a rampage towards the end of the season. That's 6 more goals in 2 games. Well, let's talk about the Empire Strikers clinching their first playoff berth since 2021 with a fantastic 11-6 win at Dallas. How about 3 more goals? That's right, a Justin Stinson hat trick with 2 assists. And in that match, by the way, Justin Stinson temporarily, unfortunately, moving into the Golden Boot lead for MASL that season. Unfortunately, he couldn't hold it, but another 3-goal performance along with 2 helpers. Jorge De Leon with 3 goals and 2 assists as well. And Berto Palmer, Robert Palmer, the man who is a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. How about 3 assists to finish second in the league, along with 5 blocks? It was an incredible effort to make it to the playoffs. Unfortunately, they would fall on April 5th, 4-2 at San Diego, a place where they didn't lose all season. So the season comes to an end with a 4-2 loss at San Diego, but reigning Coach of the Year, Onua Obasi, ready to get things going. Don't forget, tickets on sale right now at theempirestrikers.com, and that is strikers with a Y. It was an incredible playoff-bound season. But speaking of incredible, we're going to bring on friend of the show, Los Angeles Times writer and soccer expert extraordinaire. He's been covering it in the Southland for decades now, Kevin Baxter of the Los Angeles Times. Kevin, welcome back to Soccer in 60, my friend.
Hey, how are you? Who's older, by the way, Marco Fabian or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Ooh, I would have to think Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Going to be 41 in February.
And look, to be in that kind of shape, doing those kind of things, it must be nice to be Cristiano Ronaldo, right, Kevin?
Yeah, well, I guess if I got paid, $150 million, even I could get in shape for that.
I'd start working out tonight. Absolutely. I don't care about Thanksgiving dinner. We're bringing you on, Kevin, because obviously you've just published a fantastic article in the Los Angeles Times about Angel City finding out what matters most to its fans, and that is winning. You interviewed a lot of different people for that, especially sporting director Mark Parsons. And I think what you really tried to shed light on, I'll let you talk about this in a second, is the dichotomy between their off-field mission and success they've had there and their lack of success on the pitch. But let me let you just kind of preview and talk about this article for just a second.
Yeah, I did. I talked to team president Julie Ehrman, one of the founders. I talked to Mark Parsons, talked to some fans too. But basically the takeaway was Angel City is a remarkable entity with what it does off the field. All the work it does in the community. It was the first team. Kudos to LAFC for what they did when the ice raid started in Southern California. But Angel City was the first out of the box on that, and they issued a statement. They printed up T-shirts that said "Immigrant City FC." The amazing thing about that is I got one of those, and I looked everywhere to see the Angel City marker, and there was no logo on it. Angel City just did it, and it just said, "This is the message that we want to take out to the community." And we don't want credit for it. We just want to do it. And to their credit, Angel City and LAFC were the only two of the 12 professional sports teams in LA to make any kind of a statement of solidarity with the community during that time. And we know, in the immigrant community, there are a lot of soccer fans. So that was a great thing to do. But so all the community work that they do, they work with refugee families in Mexico. They give out meals to people here. They work with youth organizations, especially women's youth organizations, charity stuff. It's really a model what they do, and it's embedded in the team. Sponsors, when they join on to become an Angel City sponsor, they have to give a percentage of their sponsorship revenue or sponsorship money to these charitable organizations. The problem is Angel City, I think, somewhere along the line forgot that they're also a soccer team, and they're a soccer team primarily, and that's where everything comes from. Attendance this year still second in the NWSL, by the way, but the lowest ever. 16,000 and change this year, which sounds like a lot, but they had never had a single crowd that low in their first 3 seasons. And this year, in their 4th year, they averaged that. So I did talk to Julie Ehrman, and she said it's taken us some time to understand the level of investment that we need in order to compete in the NWSL. And I think this all goes back to what Mark Parsons is trying to do now, which is rebuild the foundation. He made over 3 dozen transactions this year, got rid of a lot of players, brought in a lot of players, that, including Alyssa Thompson, by the way, who signed $1 million transfer fee to Chelsea, but brought in a number of different players. Riley Tiernan, for example, Rookie of the Year candidate. Hina Sagita from Japan, they just re-signed her to a long-term contract. Evelyn Shores, a Zambian player named Prissa Chiufu. They brought in a lot of really good players. This is the kind of stuff that should have been done, this foundation building, I think should have been done at the beginning, but Angel City got off to a slow start. They made a tactical mistake right out of the box, and I don't think they ever were able to overcome that. And very early in as they prepared for their first season in the summer before their first season, they had decided they were going to hire Sean Nahas as their coach. He was an assistant coach and then interim manager at North Carolina. They got intense feedback from their supporter group. The supporter group said, "This is a women's team. We want a women's manager." So they went out and they actually got Freya Coombe from Gotham City. That was a mistake because Freya was still coaching at Gotham. NWSL found out. They fired her or made her step down from that team. LAFC, or Angel City rather, has never really recovered from that. They're now on their 4th coach after 4 seasons, only 1 winning season. They're on their 4th coach. They're on their 3rd GM, Mark Parsons. And Mark Parsons has talked about, look, we need to build a foundation for winning. It takes a number of seasons to build this. And when you're changing a coach every yeyer, when you're changing a general manager every 18 months, there is no coherence. There's no consistency. So he's had to convince the new ownership, Bob Iger and Willow Bay, that, look, we need to retrench. We need to start over. The team under Willow Bay and Bob Iger, and even starting before that, they've invested more than $1 million in a new performance center. They've invested money in data and analytics. They've spent a lot of money on young talent. Giselle Thompson, teenager, just signed through 2029. That's all the stuff they should have done at the beginning. They didn't do that stuff in the beginning, and that led to a big ownership fight with Alexio Hanian, some of the other owners. Alexio Hanian was the money guy through the first 3 seasons, still is involved. So, and that led to the ownership, to the board of governors fight, the board of directors fight, I guess you want to call it, that brought in Bob Iger and Willow Bay. And so essentially, I guess the point is they've kind of wasted 4 years. They're back now to where they should have been before their first season.
Yeah, Julie Ehrman talks about it. I think one of the quotes in your article is she wants to build a dynasty on and a legacy off the pitch. They've certainly done enough off the pitch. It'll happen. It'll have to be what they do on the pitch under new head coach Alex Strauss as well. It's going to take quite a bit of time. Let me ask you though, the end of your article also highlights the frustration of the fan base. What did you find out there, and what was your takeaway?
Yeah, I talked to a number of different fans. They're all some of them had problems. Blame the attendance on the kind of bizarre NWSL schedule. They have 4 TV partners that they have to satisfy, so their games on Wednesday night and on Friday night, and Angel City also shares the stadium with LAFC, who gets the premier choice of weekend dates and stuff. So they said, look, we never know when the game's going to be. In an MLS team, you can say, hey, Saturday or Sunday I'm going to go there. It could be Wednesday, could be a Monday afternoon game. It was kind of messed up. That hurt the fans. But what the fans said primarily is, look, we love Angel City. It's become a real safe place. As we mentioned, the immigrant community, LGBTQ community identifies with Angel City to a great degree. It's become a safe place for them to go, to cheer. But as one owner told me, one of the team's owners, he said, there's a great atmosphere there. But if you ask 8 out of every 10 fans coming out of that stadium can't tell you who won the game. And that's true. If you go to a game, you'll see they might put a celebrity up on the scoreboard who's in the stands, and then the fans will cheer, but they put it up right before someone's about to take a penalty kick. I mean, there's just no sense that this is a soccer team. So what the fans have told me is, like, look, we liked what Angel City was doing. We liked the fact LA finally had a women's team. We wanted to come out and support them. We gave them 4 years of our money, and they didn't make any progress. They're not winning. We want to support a soccer team, and we want to be proud of what Angel City does off the field, and we are proud of that. But we also want to be proud of what they do on the field, and I think that's where Angel City strayed a little bit. They did a number of really well done. I went to one of them during the Paris Olympics, a sort of a women in sports empowerment conference, and it was great. They had great speakers there. They talked about a lot of important issues, but they didn't talk about building a soccer team. And I think they forgot that. It's a soccer team first. If I want to give money to a charity, there's a lot of great charities out there that I do support, and I can support those charities. If I want to give money to a soccer team, I can go support a soccer team. Angel City tried to marry the two, but I think they missed. They focused a little bit too much on one. I think they finally, in talking to Julie, I think with Julie and Mark, they finally kind of came to the conclusion that, look, this charity stuff will work better if the soccer team wins. More people will come to see us. More people support us. We'll get the word out if the team is winning. We can't continue to spend this money on stuff in the neighborhood when our team is finishing, 12th in a 14-team league. We got to do better than that.
Absolutely. Look, we want to get the word out about where everybody can find this article. Make sure you check out latimes.com, Google Kevin Baxter and Angel City. It is a fantastic article. Kevin, I know we couldn't spend much time together, but thank you so much for coming on Soccer in 60 once again, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, there's Kevin Baxter. And again, an incredible article over on latimes.com. Make sure you Google that, check it out. Let's talk a quick bit here about Orange County Soccer Club. Not a ton of news as their season ended a couple of weeks ago, but 2 huge pieces back in the fold for 2026. The first, wingback Ryan Dogman will be back for his 4th season in Orange County. A fantastic season with 3 goals, 4 assists, and over 100 recoveries in 2025. In addition, Dogman frequently wore the captain's armband when other players were injured in 2025. And I want to quote the article on Orange County Soccer Club's website. They say, Dogman's return for 2026 is more than just continuity. It's a signal that Orange County Soccer Club values the way he plays. Fearless, creative, and tied to the club's ethos. And certainly we saw that at the end of their 2025 season as they battled week after week in what were essentially elimination games from the playoffs to keep their head above water, to keep treading, to make the playoffs, and to make a relatively improbable run with a couple of big victories, Cinderella on their side, and much of that due to the play of wingback Ryan Dogman. But how about friend of the show, only because he's been on and we've had a chance to talk to him here on Soccer in 60, Chris Hagart, back for 2026. He brings back 3 goals. He brings back 8 assists, but also that steady, calm leadership in the midfield. They certainly missed him in their last playoff game of the year at New Mexico United. Of course, he was given a red card for some late theatrics in their previous playoff match, so he missed the season finale. So I would imagine nobody wanted to get back at it more than Chris Hagart. Absolutely incredible soccer player. And if you go back and listen to our previous episode where we had Chris Hagart on, you will find that not only is he a great soccer player, he's also an incredible person as well. It was a great interview that we had. He is a childhood cancer survivor. I know he doesn't like to focus on that too much, but you know what? He has become an inspiration for so many across not just Orange County, but in the soccer landscape. And to quote the article, Hagart isn't just a midfielder who racks up stats. He's a catalyst. His energy, vision, and willingness to drive the game make him central to Orange County Soccer Club's identity. He can unlock defenses, but he also presses, recovers, and leads by example. And I have to tell you, many of the faithful that head out there to the champ down in Irvine have Hagart on the back of their kits. So they are going to be very, very happy to see Chris Hagart back into the fold. Our regular co-host, Tim Kolotz, I would love to have had him on, but he's currently vacationing in Europe. I would love to talk to him all about Chris Hagart, all about wingback Ryan Dogman, and whoever else he wants to see back in the fold for Orange County Soccer Club. But it'll have to wait for another week because this has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. This, again, is the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. Please do not forget to subscribe to the podcast on all your podcasting platforms. And please head on over to YouTube, like and subscribe subscribe to us, Soccer in 60 on YouTube. And once again, this is Soccer in 60 brought to you by SAC Health System. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.